Hello, my friends. I hope you're having a top-notch day. My name is Ezra Anderson, and today we're going to take this Roman soldier sword and turn it into a lightsaber. If you'd like to follow along with the same image I'll be using today, I'll leave a download link in the video description. The first thing we're going to do to make our lightsaber is make sure we're working non-destructively. To work non-destructively, we want to duplicate our background image. To duplicate the image, tap once with 2 fingers, and then select Duplicate. Now if we come to the Layer Studio, you'll see that we have a duplicate copy of the background photo. On our duplicate copy, we're now going to remove the blade from the soldier's sword. To do this, we'll use the In-Painting brush. To find the In-Painting brush, tap once on the clone brush, and then tap once again to select the In-Painting brush. Now we just need to paint over the sword, and Affinity will automatically remove it. I'll make my brush a little smaller in the context toolbar at the bottom. Then I'll continue painting a little bit more. Let's zoom in a little bit to make sure we're being accurate, and then paint some more. The In-Painting brush did a good job at first at removing the sword blade, but down here at the bottom it's leaving some white smudges. I think we'd get better results if we use the clone brush, so tap on the In-Painting brush tool, and then select the clone brush. The clone brush works by sampling one part of the photo, and then you can paint that part of the photo on top of another part of the picture. To briefly see how this works, let's try cloning the Roman's helmet. To set a source point, just tap and hold with 1 finger, and then you can begin painting somewhere else in the picture. You can see we're making an exact clone of a copy starting from where we set the source point. Now that you see how the clone brush works, I'm going to undo this by tapping once with 2 fingers and then pressing undo. I'm going to set a new source point now somewhere in the darkness behind the Roman soldier. To set a new source point, just tap and hold with 1 finger. Now we can begin cloning this darkness over the white smudges where his sword blade was. Make sure to bring the hardness down to 0% in the context toolbar, or all of your painting will look quite visible. While I was removing the sword blade, I went ahead and removed some of the white smudges that were around the Roman's helmet as well. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit to make sure we're accurate as we're removing the bottom of the blade. I'll also tap and hold to set a new source point. And then I'll decrease the width of my brush. Now we can finish up painting. That looks good enough to me, so I'm going to zoom back out by tapping twice with 2 fingers. Now that we've removed the original sword blade, we're going to add our lightsaber blade. We'll do this with the pen tool. With the pen tool, just tap once to lay down a node, and then tap again at the top of your picture to make a straight line. To make sure our lightsaber is in line with the original sword blade, I'm going to turn off our duplicate copy of the Roman soldier. Now that we can see the original sword blade, it looks like our lightsaber blade isn't quite in line with it. To fix this, I'm going to edit the 2 nodes. To do this, first select Edit in the context toolbar, and then we can move the nodes. And once again, I'll zoom back out, and then I'll bring back our duplicate copy of the Roman soldier where we have the sword blade removed. With the pen tool selected, we can increase the width of our line in the context toolbar. Right now it's difficult to see our line though, because it's black on a black background. To change its color, we'll come over to the Color Studio. Then we'll select the black circle and change its color. I'm going to make a red lightsaber, which means I want the inside of my lightsaber blade to be a light red, nearly white. Now we're going to blur this line and give it an outer glow. To do this, we'll come to the Effects Studio. Then we'll select the Gaussian blur and check it on. Then you can bring up the radius as much as you want. Then we'll come to the outer glow and turn that on as well. We're going to change the outer glow color to a bright red. Then we'll increase its radius. And if you want, you can also change the intensity. And if you want to change how thick the inside of your lightsaber is, you can always come back to the pen tool and then change its width in the context toolbar. The next thing we're going to do is add some red glow to the Roman soldier. If the lightsaber was glowing red, it would make sense that part of the Roman's helmet and his face would also have some red glow on them. To do this, we're going to use a Recolor Adjustment. So we'll come to the Adjustment Studio and then scroll down to select Recolor. We now have a red recolor being applied to our entire picture. If you made your lightsaber something other than red, you can change the hue in the context toolbar at the bottom. But since my lightsaber is red, I'm going to keep my Recolor Adjustment set to red as well. We don't want this color being applied everywhere though, just in some certain spots that we decide on. So the next thing we're going to do is invert the Recolor Adjustment, so instead of being applied to everything, it's going to be applied to nothing. To invert the adjustment layer, we'll come to the Channel Studio, and then press on the 3 circles to the right of Layer Recolor Adjustment. Then we can select Invert. Now if we come to the Layer Studio, you can see that we have a black icon to the left of the Recolor Adjustment. This means our Recolor Adjustment has a black mask on it, so nothing is being shown. What we can do is paint in white wherever we want the Recolor Adjustment to be visible. To do this, we'll select the paintbrush, and then make sure that we're painting in white. Then we can make our brush a little bit bigger. And we'll set the hardness to 0%. Right now, if we start painting though, you'll see the effect is much too strong. So I'm going to tap once with 2 fingers and then press undo. Instead, we want to have a very, very low opacity. Now as we paint, only a small portion of our Recolor Adjustment will become visible. But then as we paint again, more of the Recolor Adjustment will become visible. By slowly layering multiple paintbrush strokes, we can apply the Recolor Adjustment exactly where we want it. If you're new to Affinity Photo and are still a little confused about opacity and flow and hardness, you can check out our beginner's guide to this program in the video description, where we cover all of these things in greater depth. For now though, I'm going to continue painting so I can apply the lightsaber glow to other parts of the photo. We can see how the Recolor Adjustment is really enhancing our photo by turning off the layer inside the Layer Studio and then checking it back on. You can see that the Recolor Adjustment really makes this photo look a lot more realistic. Our photo is just about done, but one thing I don't like is how it looks like the lightsaber blade is spilling onto the handle. We want our lightsaber blade to start at the end of the handle and not be on top of it. To fix this, I'm going to select the lightsaber blade layer, and then apply a mask to it by pressing on the mask icon and then selecting New Mask Layer. We now have a white mask, so everything is visible, but if we paint in black, we can hide parts of the layer. Just remember to bring back up your opacity. I'm going to bring down the width a little bit as well, and then remove the bottom part of the lightsaber blade. And if you accidentally paint over too much, remember that you can always switch your color back to white. Then I'll tap twice with 2 fingers to see our entire photo once again. To see a before and after, I'm going to swipe to the left on the top 3 layers, and then turn them all off to see our original photo, and turn them back on to see our new Roman Jedi. You now know how to make a lightsaber in Affinity Photo. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next Affinity Revolution tutorial.